Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new video. Today, once again, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. And yes, we really need to reassess the current situation because the price target that I had mentioned in my previous video of $60,000 has now been reached considerably quicker than I myself had personally anticipated. But just like with Bitcoin, things can change very quickly or rather move very fast. And that's why we need to reevaluate the entire situation. We need to take a look, okay, how do we now recognize that the bull market is approaching again? That could certainly be the case. We're now in a territory where it might be interesting to start a new bull market from here. But, and this is something that is absolutely crucial, the right indicators must then subsequently follow. And we're going to take a very close look at that in detail right now. And I'll also explain to you once more why, even though it currently appears very, very interesting and quite tempting to invest in Bitcoin, the $35,000 mark is still a possibility. And I don't want to rule out that Bitcoin could still fall significantly deeper. This isn't intended to be a crash video or anything of that nature. Instead, we'll truly examine it as objectively as we possibly can, focusing on how this can be achieved through chart analysis. And in my personal opinion, this approach has actually proven to be quite effective up to this point. Now, before we begin, naturally, a quick risk disclaimer. Everything I state here does not constitute a recommendation to buy or sell, nor is it financial advice. It is solely my personal opinion. So let's get into it, because there are some points I want to discuss. First, I'd like to start with the initial situation. So we're currently looking at the weekly chart because the weekly chart is always a very good criterion for determining whether Bitcoin is in a bull or bear market. And I already said here, wow, we're seeing signs of weakness. Yes, I also marked that here in the RSI. A downtrend in the highs and an uptrend in the stock price, right? That's a bearish divergence. You have to be careful there, I said. And if you then get a sign of weakness, as you can see it now, for example, in the fact that the 20-week moving average is lost and then also the 50-day, then you should really be on high alert. And that consolidation pattern was forming here before the downtrend would continue. That was then quite clear, especially since we then failed to recapture the moving averages and continue this uptrend from there. So this was the bearish confirmation that we are in a downtrend, in a bear market, in a full bear market. And Bitcoin has, as a result of this, crashed. We'll soon take a look at why the $35,000 mark is being discussed, why it's quite realistic. There are other levels in between, like $45,000. We'll examine that shortly, but first I'd like to generally show you, if we zoom out a bit, and it's crucial that we consider the big picture, how Bitcoin has behaved in the last bull and bear markets and what conclusions we can draw from that for the current situation. And if we take a look at the current situation right now here in the RSI down here, we can see that we are in a relatively low territory. We are not yet at an all-time low, that's true. We were actually even lower in June of 2022. This does mean, however, that we're already in an interesting area where Bitcoin could certainly turn around. Now, I don't believe that it will go straight up from here in a V-shaped correction. It's not something to be ruled out. Bitcoin can essentially do absolutely anything. But if we actually take a moment to consider how the most recent bull markets truly got started, they usually began with a period of consolidation, or rather a very, very volatile phase with little overall price movement, but a great deal of back and forth, a lot of choppiness and erratic movement within a short time frame, to put it simply. And the actual breakout, and you can probably see it a little bit here already, was essentially a spike on the RSI and at the same time a big candle, where we then recaptured the 20-week moving average, which then immediately served as support again, right? 20 didn't quite work as well, but it was a different situation back then. We didn't have those large institutional investors yet, right? It works better now, I believe, because they also act on algorithms and chart signals. So one can definitely say, yes, this region is interesting. And now we're getting to the point where I want to explain to you why the $35,000 mark is so interesting. And if you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out when I shed light on Bitcoin again. And yeah, thank you very much for that. And let's take a look now at how much Bitcoin has actually corrected during the past bull markets. And there is the The Fibonacci retracement is actually quite an interesting and useful tool, which I myself don't really use very frequently, but for Bitcoin, it actually proves to be quite effective. And there are precisely these three crucial retracements that one observes within a significant uptrend. If we just take a moment to look at the overall situation here, then what we see from the bottom left to the top right is a large primary bull market, a primary upward trend, which is marked by secondary trends and downward movements. Yes, bear markets such as the one we are currently in. So, and these secondary trends, these bear markets where we currently find ourselves here in 2018, it went back to the zero after, or rather the 38 retracement level. Now let's take a look at what was actually the case in 2020-21. We'll do exactly the same thing there. So we'll take this point here. And this is roughly how you draw the retracement. Yes, from the low point to the high point, and then we see, okay, we've reached the 50% retracement here. You can certainly say that, that's quite a bit deeper now. Yeah, if we just take a look at these highs right here, they're also flattening out more and more. So does that basically mean that we're here in a really huge trend if we just take a look at the monthly chart right here, where we actually have warning signs? And I also want to say that you should keep this in the back of your mind, that if we fall significantly lower than this, this last area here in the RSI, we could also see Bitcoin in a bear market for several years and then be talking about significantly lower prices heading towards $20,000. But we haven't reached that stage yet, have we? And that's why we'll stick with what we currently have. But I just wanted to mention this so that you are adequately prepared, because on YouTube, there are still a great many videos out there where a lot of buying is still happening. And I'm personally a little bit cautious about that. And I would say, of course, I am still bullish on Bitcoin for the long term. I also believe that in 5 years' time, we will be standing at a higher price point than we are right now. But why should one now invest at $70,000 when the risk reward ratio just isn't good enough, that Bitcoin could still halve itself again? And we still don't have any indicators or signs. It's always several factors that need to point in one direction so that we can accordingly make a more informed decision, or rather reduce the likelihood of making wrong decisions, so to speak. And if we look at this, the retracement now for this bull market or for this bear market, then we see we've reached roughly the 38% retracement, more or less. You don't have to take that too literally, but around $60,000 is also a psychological mark. Many buy orders are placed there, etc. And now we need to see if we can maintain this particular scenario. If this scenario holds true, then I anticipate we'll experience a somewhat volatile phase here, and then ultimately, within about a week, a roughly 20% straight upward move, driven by significant buying volume and strong buying interest, finally conquering the 20-week moving average. That would represent the bullish outlook. If the 20-week moving average comes down here and we don't manage to get above it, here similar to what happened over here, then I'm more in the camp that we will have to say, okay, we're going even lower. And you might already see the $35,000 here. What I've drawn in here, that is the 61.8 retracement. This is like the last retracements where you could say, okay, we're actually still in a bull market, but that's not a good sign. And if we look at the overall tendency, yes, then we see that this major trend is getting weaker. That means it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not suggesting that this is how things are going to unfold, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if we were to witness this retracement. I also believe, however, that we could certainly see a reversal here already at $45,000. So I'm contemplating perhaps buying additional tranches here, or more precisely in the next few weeks once we have a clearer overall picture. I will, of course, provide a further update on that, but we really need to observe first, and that is the most important thing I want to convey to you. Observe the specific information that I have just provided to you on this journey. Think about it. Feel free to write in the comments what your thoughts are on this, and then I'm really curious to see how things develop over the next few weeks. Bitcoin is, well, truly quite unpredictable, but if we interpret it this way, and I've actually been involved since around 2017, and I've really experienced this entire journey. I've been in, out, and I've also traded a lot here. I've really spent a lot of time on this. I wouldn't say wasted, because I actually learned a lot from it. But now we just have to wait and see. Yes, Bitcoin is indeed quite dangerous because it's so volatile. And that's why there's a very significant risk that you could lose a substantial amount of money here. That's why I made this video. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to take away some valuable insights. A big thank you to all the channel members, and Yes, you might also hear it a little in my voice. I had a cold. I'm recording this video now on Sunday. I don't know yet when it will be released, but many thanks to the channel members already, and feel free to watch one of the 2 videos that are recommended to you here, or check out my financial calculator app for stocks and ETFs. You can calculate 15 different things. Just check it out. It's free, and see you in the next video. All the best, good luck, and ciao.